Now for what's tipping the scales of justice as the mother of a 5-year-old boy found dead inside of a suitcase appeared in court for the first time on Tuesday. DeJohn Anderson is her name. She's accused of murdering her son Cairo back in 2022 and putting his body in a suitcase in Indiana. She then went on the run for nearly 2 years, according to police, finally captured in California last month. She had her arraignment this week and it was far from typical. As she told the judge, she wants to represent herself. She also made some really wild claims. Take a look.
Ms. Anderson, you just made an objection.
Yes.
State the basis of your objection.
The basis of my objection is the fact that I am not a fugitive. I have been under NSA surveillance for the past 8 months. And how can that qualify me as a fugitive on the run when I've also had a detail from Space Force that was following my every move? When I contacted...
All right. Let me tell you, that is not a valid legal objection. If you want to represent yourself, you're going to have to learn the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, because if you conduct yourself like this and make these types of objections, you have no chance in the world, lady.
Judge is right. So if this woman represents herself at trial, how might that tip the scales of justice for her? Let's bring in our guest, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael J. Brown. Michael, your thoughts watching this woman?
Yeah, Julie, obviously my initial inclination is there has to be some type of mental disease or defect. Initially, the judge is going to have to deal with a competency issue just for the purposes of understanding the charges against her and being able to assist in her defense. And especially important when, if she's going to represent herself, that's so important. So initially, there's going to be what we call a 730 exam in New York State. And I'm sure Indiana has the equivalent where they have to make sure she's competent to stand trial.
Exactly, Michael. She may not even get to the point of trial, right? I'm sure you were thinking that. I was too when I saw this. Clearly seems that she's not well, and the judge is doing a fine job handling the situation, getting her through the initial arraignment to the proper place. I've got another clip here where she's talking about how she has a master's degree. Let's take a look.
You are required to conduct yourself as a lawyer to be able to voir dire the potential jurors, to abide by the rules of evidence, to abide by the rules of procedure.
I do understand I have a master's in history.
That doesn't give you a law degree, though.
But I do understand how to read procedures.
All right. All right. Just because you represent yourself doesn't ensure yourself of a good lawyer, you know.
Michael J. Brown, what'd you think of that?
So obviously here she's trying to say she's educated, she's intelligent, and she can represent herself. But one thing has nothing to do with the other. The worst thing you can do is represent yourself. I think they're going to need to determine if she's competent in the sense that she understands the nature of the charges and she can adequately assist in her defense. And at least from the viewing of this arraignment, it appears she talked about NASA spaceships and being a sovereign citizen. It's so complex, and I think it's clear in its face that she's not competent at this point in time. But they'll have to undergo a psychiatric evaluation to determine that.
Right, most definitely, Michael. You know, police said that the little boy, 5 years old, didn't have any signs of trauma on his body, but that the autopsy showed that the cause of death was an electrolyte imbalance, likely from dehydration. So your thoughts on a defense here? You know, does anything come to mind when you think of that and what may be the criminal defense at the trial?
Right off the bat, I agree with you, Julie. You hit the nail on the head in the sense that off the bat, I thought about an extreme emotional disturbance in our state or even an insanity defense. And I'm sure Indiana has the equivalent. So there's a lot of things here that tend to lead to that. You hit one of the nails on the head in the sense of dehydration. So there's no beating or stabbing or strangling. She simply neglected the child and wouldn't hydrate him. There's also things that I read that she wanted an exorcism performed. She posted some ritual things on social media. And then you have a child who's actually stuffed in a suitcase. Horrific. But I think it all tends to support some type of defense of a mental disease or defect or even that insanity defense.
Right. So well said, Michael J. Brown. I think you were spot on all of this as per usual. We'll continue following Dejon Anderson's case as she did get through that arraignment, and I'm sure she's headed to the doctor.